Dominated. The offense wasn't half bad, and the best part is, hey, it's only April.
Our Locked On Bearcats, your daily podcast on the Cincinnati Bearcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hope you had a great weekend. Thanks so much for making Locked On Bearcats your first listen every day on this Monday, April 17th, 2023. I'm Alex Frank, your host here on Locked On Bearcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Today's episode of Locked On Bearcats is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, the official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/Locked On today to get started. So the Cincinnati Bearcats spring game happened Saturday at Nippert Stadium. I was there. It was great to be there. Was great. Well, concerned before the game started. Driving down there was a little raining, but man, could not have turned out to be a better day. Mid-70s, sunny skies. Great to see all of you at Nippert Stadium, and it was great to see some people I hadn't seen in a while and also meet some new people. So a good day for the Cincinnati Bearcats. My biggest takeaway from the spring game is the defense is really good. This is going to be a really, really good defense. Dan Horde echoed that sentiment to me as we were talking after the game on Saturday. And I think that is the one thing that's one thing you can bank on this season. It probably is going to be the thing you can bank on this season. This defense is going to be really good. They're going to be stifling. They're going to be stout. They're going to be maybe a shutdown defense because they have the ability to heavily limit an opposing offense. I saw them. Now, the Bearcats offense is maybe not a great measurement, more on that in a minute, but the Bearcats defense that I saw on Saturday was very, very good. Solid, tackled well, flying to the ball, making plays. That's a defense that I think is going to keep the Bearcats in every game this season. I keep saying it, and it confirmed what I saw on Saturday. And keep in mind, Saturday was my first time seeing this Bearcats team live. So my first impressions are that the defense is going to be really good. Daniel Greshik is going to be an unbelievable weapon to have on this defense. Whether he's playing on the defensive line as an edge rusher or whether he's dropping back into coverage as an edge rusher or linebacker hybrid player, he is going to be an absolute weapon for this defense. First play from scrimmage in the spring game on Saturday, gets in there and gets a sack. I mean, this is exactly why the Bearcats got him in the transfer portal. They knew that they needed some help on the defensive line. They knew that they needed to be able to rush the quarterback better. Defensive line on the interior. Jawan Briggs he's faster, he's leaner, and this might be his best season. He's had two really good seasons in Cincinnati, but this might be his best season. And something that I asked him after practice was, or I shouldn't say practice, the game Saturday. It was basically a practice on steroids, though. I asked Jawan Briggs, what's it mean for him and that whole D-line to have Walter Stewart retained as defensive line coach? And he said that it allows them to keep building the standard. I thought that was a really, really good way to put it. Because there's a standard here that maybe hasn't been set by this defensive line, but certainly defensive lines of the past. I mean, you look at the last few seasons, the Cincinnati Bearcats, in their first season when they were good, when Luke Fickell was head coach, this was 2018 in year two, that defensive line was an absolute menacing force. Marquise Copeland, Kamani Fitz, Cortez Broughton, Michael Pitts. I mentioned them already. Fitz, Cortez Broughton, Marquise Copeland. Yeah, all those guys that I just mentioned were integral parts to a really, really good defense. This defensive line could be just as good as that. You got an All-American returning and Dante Corleone. You've got Jawan Briggs, Malik Vann, who is going to play in his sixth season of college football. This defense was absolutely fantastic. on Saturday. Jamal Williams made some plays, number 44. And I'm telling you, if there's one thing in a season where there's going to be some uncertainty going in, the first game is just over 4.5 months away. And there's still a lot of questions that need to be answered. A lot of uncertainty still surrounding the team. If there is anything that you can bank on, is that this defense is going to be really good. It's going to be better than last year's. Because there are several playmakers at all three levels. Now, the secondary is still a question. I didn't see anything that really stood out to me from the secondary, but I didn't see anything egregiously bad. So it's going to be a defense that is going to live on its ability to heavily slow down opposing offenses, because they will have to do that. I thought they were okay against the run. Against the pass, they were better. Pass coverage was good, because there were several times Ben Bryant and Emory Jones or whoever was in a quarterback had to take downfield coverage. So there is a lot to be excited about with the defense. I'll get into the offense, which was a little It wasn't as bad as I expected. But it also wasn't really encouraging either. I'll get into that after I explain to you how this episode of Locked On Bearcats is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Grand slams, no-hitters, and double plays are back, and there's no better place to get in on the MLB action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. That's because right now new customers can step up to the plate with a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Just go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn, sign up, place your first bet, and get up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you don't win. So don't miss your chance to get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn to sign up. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. Thanks again for making Locked On Bearcats your first listen every day. For everyday listeners, on tomorrow's show, I will be joined by Neil Meyer of the Front Office News for his perspective and recap from the spring game on Saturday. We were both there, and we will have a great show for you. Always great to talk to Neil. Very knowledgeable, hardworking, trying to break into this great industry, as am I. But always great to have Neil on, and he will join me tomorrow right here on Locked On Bearcats. So offensively, the Cincinnati Bearcats, there were some things that I saw that were good. There were some things I saw that were obviously cause for concern. It was better than I expected. But as Russ mentioned on the show in the live room on Thursday afternoon, Russ will join me later this week for another live room recapping the spring game. But what's interesting to me is, and Russ said this, that the passing game is going to struggle. I mean, it's just there is still not a big connection between the wide receivers and the quarterback. Excuse me, again, it's just not there yet. There is still a ways to go. Receivers aren't getting open. The offensive line can't hold up in pass protection for very long. And that's a big reason why. And those are two big reasons why this passing attack is not going to be very good. They're not going to be able to open up offensively in the passing game like they did last year. It's just not going to happen. Shimon Mateer looked really good. But the problem is the offensive line is still very, very a work in progress. It is so interesting to me. And I was having this conversation with somebody after the game on Saturday. When the Bearcats have had great offensive lines and they're expected to be really good, they haven't. When you don't expect their offensive line to be really good, maybe in this case they do. But watching that offensive line Saturday, it wasn't just they were struggling in pass protection. There were false starts, there were holdings, there were a lot of mistakes. And those cannot happen when you play Pittsburgh on the road week 2 or Oklahoma in your first Big 12 game. Because it is going to be a huge step up from the American Athletic Conference. it's not going to be like how it was. You're going to be facing bigger, stronger defensive lines. And right now, this offensive line for Cincinnati looks overmatched. And that's playing against Cincinnati's defensive line that is as good as any D line in the conference and maybe the country. I thought Ben Bryant and Emory Jones, and again, if you're wondering why I didn't start off by talking about the quarterbacks, which I get it, you want to hear about that. But this program and this school has been driven by offensive line play for years. And so therefore, I'm always going to start with that because that is the biggest concern this offseason. Yes, you want to know who the starting quarterback is going to be. I want to know too. But the offensive line, if you don't have 5 guys in front of that starting quarterback to protect him, yeah, that's cause for concern. So I thought Ben Bryant and Emory Jones both looked crisp, solid. They made some good decisions, and it is a battle. Unfortunately, it's a battle that I think is going to be decided before the start of fall camp. And this is something that I don't know if I don't remember if Luke Fickell talked about this last year after the spring game or in spring games or in spring games prior to Saturdays. But Scott Satterfield said this very concisely, very blunt, honest. He said they will be meeting with both quarterbacks and they'll be having some real conversations about their future. And he even said, if the best option for them is to transfer, then transfer. So I do believe you will know. You will know. We will know very soon. I shouldn't say very soon. We will know soon who this team's starting quarterback is going to be. I think you're going to know by the time fall camp rolls around because I think the offense is going to be catered to whoever the starting quarterback is. That's obvious. But because Bryant and Jones are two different quarterbacks, you have to know what direction you want to go in with your offense. And I think what's really amazing is I'm watching Ben Bryant, and I've been reading reports from Russ. I've been talking about it on this show. But what's really, really awesome about Ben Bryant, and I get it, there are some of you listening to me right now who are taking your beef out because you did not like the way Ben Bryant performed last year. But as I told someone last week, you don't lead your team to 9 wins for no reason. Like, there's a reason why the Bearcats won 9 games last year, and that's because Ben Bryant put them in positions to win games. Yes, he wasn't great in some of them. Yes, he was better in some than most, but 9 wins? Yeah. There's a reason why the Cincinnati Bearcats won 9 games last year. It's because Ben Bryant was a big part of that. And the games they lost that Ben Bryant started was not because of him. If you say it was, you're wrong. I'm sorry. We can have different opinions. But anyone who watched them lose to Arkansas and UCF knows that it wasn't Ben Bryant's fault they lost that game. It was the defense's inability to get stops when it mattered the most. That's what cost the team the game. Those games. Ben Bryant is a very good quarterback. He's been playing a lot of college football. And what's remarkable is how well he's healed from that foot injury. I saw him on Saturday, and I thought he made some very good decisions. There was a great throw that he made to, who was it? I think it was Sterling Burkhalter. No, it wasn't. It was actually. There was a catch along the sidelines. Bryant put it in the only place he could have put it. And as I'm watching him throw, I'm saying to myself, it's amazing that he's playing not even 5 months removed from that broken foot. That's incredible to think about. And here, and I get it. Is there anything exciting about Ben Bryant starting? I don't know. Does he get more tools and attributes and skills unlocked in Satterfield's system? Maybe. We'll soon find out. Emory Jones played well too. There was a great throw down the sideline. Unfortunately, it was called back because of a holding. There was a great throw and catch down the sideline. I forget who the receiver was on the receiving end. But I thought Emory Jones in his first spring game with the Bearcats looked crisp. He didn't make many mistakes. It almost threw 1 interception, but outside of that, if the play downfield wasn't there, he took the check down. So there's a lot of hope with Emory Jones. I'm not saying he's going to be special. I'm not saying he's going to be the next Justin Fields, But what I'm saying is he can be a guy that leads the Bearcats to at least 6 wins to qualify for a bowl game, if not 7 or 8. But this quarterback battle is going to be very, very close. I think it's going to be much closer than last year. Now, as far as what this means for Evan Brader and Brady Lichtenberg, we know Brady Drogosh stayed. Brady Drogosh played well on Saturday. And the play of the game was the 38-yard touchdown that Drogosh threw to Barry Jackson, freshman wide receiver, who had an unbelievable spring game on Saturday. Barry Jackson, I believe, was on the receiving end now, and I think about it. If Emory Jones has passed down the sideline, the far sideline that was called back because of a hold. But watching Barry Jackson play, this guy has potential. And if he doesn't see the field much this year, you will see his name, and you will see him over the next few seasons. I thought the receivers made some really nice catches on the sideline, whether it be Leslie Ando, Jaheim Thomas, whether it be Sterling Burkhalter. This receiving core might be, it's going to be a work in progress, but it just might be a little better and hopeful than what you think. So coming up, I'm going to tell you the one problem about this team that's not related to offensive linemen or wide receivers, but it does have to do with what the men's basketball program is already going through. Here's the one problem with this program, and it hit me as I'm talking to someone on the field during the game Saturday. The problem is they don't have a star player. They don't have that star player that they've had over the last few years. They don't have a Sauce Gardner. Great to see him on Saturday. They don't have Desmond Ridder. They don't have Ivan Pace Jr. or Josiah DeGuara or James Wiggins. They don't have that. What they do have is a group of players. Some are really good, but they have a group of players. None of them stand out to you. The quarterback doesn't stand out. No one on defense stands out. No one really outside of the quarterback on offense stands out. The head coach doesn't stand out. No offense to Scott Satterfield. But this program does not have, sorry, that was this bench moving that I'm sitting on. They don't have the star power that Bearcats teams in the past have had. They have some good players. Deshaun Pace is a really good player. Juwan Briggs is a really good player. Same with Dante Corleone. But they don't stand, but you don't think about Starham the way you thought of Sauce Gardner and the other players I mentioned. You throw Kobe Bryant in there. Him too. I mean, he was the Jim Thorpe Award winner in 2021. And that's the problem with this team. There's no standout player to get excited for. And the Bearcats men's basketball program has been experiencing this for years, ever since Jaren. You as fans are going to have to be patient with this team. And again, I'm having this conversation with somebody on the field on Saturday. It's when Fickle came, you weren't even concerned about the concept of patience. That was just a breath of fresh air that was needed. This is not like that. This is maybe to you a rebuild, but to me it's a continuation of what the Bearcats program has done. That doesn't mean they're going to immediately get back to the conference title game. I don't know how long it's going to take them to get back to the Big 12 championship game. I don't know. What I do know is this. Don't expect much this year. Because for as good as the defense is going to be, the offense is going to struggle. And you have to be able to score points in the Big 12. The defense can only do so much. Excuse me. This team is going to be a team that gets better as the season progresses. I'm not saying they're going to suck. I'm not worried about 4-8 or 5-7. I'm worried about how this team can find a way to win 7 games, 6 games, etc. They will. But it is going to be a challenge for this team because they don't have that star player to get excited for. And maybe that means, I hope this doesn't mean anything, but star players sell tickets. Now, I'm pretty sure the first game the Bearcats play against EKU will be sold out or pretty dang close to it. Oklahoma is going to be a sellout. I guarantee you that. Every game should be. And even if the Bearcats are, let's say when they play Iowa State, they're 2-3. That should not keep you away from coming to Nippert Stadium. These fans need you. I thought Scott Satterfield did something really great I can't remember if Luke Fickell ever did this, but Satterfield got on the mic at Nippert Stadium after the spring game and said, "Thanks to everybody who came out. We're excited to play EKU. Go Bearcats." That was really cool. And so if he's excited about EKU, you should be too. I know I am. First game is just over 4.5 months away. But the best part is it's only April. Players are off for a few weeks. They'll come back in May for summer training, and then before you know it, it's gonna be August. We'll be at Camp Higher Ground for the Bearcats fall camp as we gear up for the 2023 Bearcat season, their first in the Big 12. As I mentioned on tomorrow's show, Neil Meyer of the Front Office News is going to join me for our discussion on the Bearcats spring game and his thoughts and observations from that game. And then how about Wednesday? Do a two-part series Wednesday, and it starts on Wednesday. It's called If X is the starting quarterback, then fill in the blank for 30 minutes. That'll continue on Thursday with part 2. We'll go Ben Bryant on Wednesday, Emory Jones on Thursday. Thursday afternoon, a live room with Russ Hellman, my colleague at All Bearcats and Sports Illustrated. That will be podcasted for Friday's show. Thank you as always. Bearcats, your everyday listeners. Tomorrow on the show, as I mentioned, the Front Office News' Neil Meyer will join me for our spring game recap. I'm on Twitter at Frankie_Natty with 2 N's and an ATI. Instagram, AlexFrank9_, email, alex3frank@gmail.com. Thanks again for making Locked On Bearcats your first listen every day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. For Locked On Bearcats, I'm Alex Frank. Have a great rest of your Monday, great start to the week, and I'll be back tomorrow right here on Locked On Bearcats.